to the role of Supreme Court, which has been path breaking in India, we have the amendments which were mentioned in the Salem Advocate Bar Association matter. They were upheld. And the ADR rules and civil procedure mediation rules, which were framed in 2009 for effective implementation of Section 89. Every High Court was directed to frame the rules in the same judgment of Salem Advocate Bar. The AFCON's judgment was a complete guideline on the mechanisms of ADR and mediation. The Supreme Court had set out a list of matters which are appropriate and inappropriate for mediation. In Motiram case matter, the court highlighted the importance of confidentiality, not to be compromised by the mediator. Then in case Srinivasan Rao matter, which is, I'm just narrating about very briefly about the Supreme Court matters here. The importance of mediation in matrimonial matters and the direction to mediation centers to set up pre-litigation desks and clinics. In Vikram Bakshi matter, the benefits of mediation were discussed in detail. And in Bijoy Sinha Roy matter, they elaborated the scope of mediation and also that Section 89 evoked in the consumer forum as well. So now you see, you have, I will be coming to this, that you have mediation centers annexed to the consumer courts at the district, state, and center level. Then in the Krishnamurthy matter, they urged the government to amend the Motor Vehicles Act. Supreme Court, as I mentioned earlier, set up a panel where the draft law on mediation has been sent to the government. See how Supreme Court has been pushing for it. I mean, this is remarkable. Of late, I mean, how I think mediation has also got the attention of social media is thanks to the judicial wisdom in public disputes. They have referred matters like the Ayodhya. Then of recent, they did the farmers agitation thing. There also, they had set up a committee. Then in the Shaheen Bagh protests. So the law has strength to shape and nurture the culture of mediation to a very large extent. And I'm sure students must be wondering that with legislation still not there, how are they enforceable? The agreements, the mediation settlement agreements. See, when a court annexes a matter to the mediation center, whatever settlement happens, it becomes a part of the court order. If it does not, the file just goes back. Now, we don't have a mediation law in place. So when we talk about a private mediation or pre-litigation, of course, comes in the act again. I'm going to talk about it, Commercial Courts Act. So we talk about private mediation. This goes in the form of a conciliation and you get the award, arbitral award. Of course, the third is where you put it as a contract. So it'll be good if, I think in a way it's relevant also that every contract should have a mediation clause. I'm coming to the favorable statutes, and I would mention section, since I've already mentioned a couple of them in the beginning. There's the Companies Act, which talks about the mediation panel, which has already been set up. And then we have the IBC, which is the Insolvency Bankruptcy Code. They talk about an insolvency professional, which has the features of a mediator. Then we talk about the RERA Act, which is, of course, the Real Estate Regulation Act. It is also talking about amicable settlements of disputes between promoters and allottees. Then Commercial Courts Act, where it has made pre-institution mediation mandatory relating to commercial disputes. And and also to remember, this will be where there's no urgent interim relief being sought. The Consumer Protection Act has provided for the establishment of mediation centers in the center, state, and district level. Then we talk about micro, small, medium, in the Enterprises Act. In India, I think we should very soon have the culture which they have in US, where it is a coexistence of court annex, private, and community mediation. I mean, this is such a large democracy. I think it'll be really favorable if we could have this going here. Coming to the topic of our, I personally think that the students would be interested to know about what they have in store. The opportunities for upcoming lawyers, I would say, I mean, being a mother to two grown up children, I would say education never hurts. I mean, this is something which I encourage the children at home also, that try and gather as much information, education you could, and don't restrict it to one field. It always helps to broaden your horizons. So now the three recent developments I'd like to share with you all is, I mean, of course, it's a given that you all are aware of it, but just to reiterate my point, they are talking about a very suitable climate for the mediation, which we are right now at present, I would say the ODR, thanks to technology, we are all together. The thing that we need to do is to train ourselves in this skill set. This will be very important, and this is a future because not only is it convenient, but it is connecting us globally. I mean, just look at the way, I mean, you could be sitting in any part of the world, you wish to train, you wish to speak, you wish to have your parties in mediation. It works so well. But yes, the skill sets in ODR are equally important. You would want to understand that, that how does the body language work? How do you kind of set your cameras, the breakout room in the sessions where you have the single session, you have the joint session. And for the, basically technology is getting upgraded very fast. So to keep up with this is also very, very critical. Then when we talk about, of late, I have been in mediations where I have had very elderly people. In fact, one of our matters, we have this couple who's, I mean, very, very elderly and painfully, I would say in mediation only we feel for them, had it not been online, had the sessions not been virtual, I really wonder what their state would be. So they are comfortably sitting in their drawing room and speaking to us in that comfort. So I think this is really something which will be looked largely ahead. Then we talk about the Singapore Convention on Mediation, where 53 countries have signed. India is a very had signed it day one, and 6 countries have ratified it. We will ratify it with a law eventually. The significance of this convention is the enforceability of the cross-border commercial disputes. See, bulk of business today is in US, China, or India. So it gives reassurance to the investors and parties. It gives them the confidence that, you come in with massive amounts and there is this contract where you have enforceability in the clauses and it works well. So I think this is something which will really work well. So once we have a law in place, this is something which is of great significance. Then, of course, with the Commercial Courts Act introducing the pre-institution mediation, where it is a precondition, and businesses are really encouraged because of the faster adjudication that will happen. It is gaining popularity, I mean, across the globe, be it domestic, be it international. I think it's like, so seeds have already been sown, and thanks to our seniors in this arena, I would really thank my seniors, my mentors, I'd say, who have already sown the seeds for this profession, mediation, which is also a very, as I would say that this is something which would not hurt anybody to get trained in. It also I would like to let everybody know that once you've completed your training, do not be under the impression that once you've trained and you will see a overflood of matters. It doesn't happen like this. You'll have to be patient, you'll have to persevere, and you will have to give it time. So till then, you keep honing your skills. Now, there are several private institutions also which have started in India, and they have come up in a big way, where they provide mediation and conveniently under their own set of rules. So, now also with so much of, I would say, the corporate world, the legal departments, the law firms, I come from one, and the concept of mediation is really sinking in. So once you've trained and you have kind of picked up a specialization, you could just get hired for the right kind of workspace there. So basically, I would say that, as a mediator, you just do not limit yourself to being a mediator. You could also train as a mediator advocate, wherein you have the capability to advise and assist your client when you step into the mediation zone. You work constructively, you create an environment where you are also willing to look at a solution, wherein your interest of the client, of course, has to be prime, but you are evaluating the legal side for the clients as well. You're preparing the case for them, you're preparing the evidence, you're preparing the documents, you're preparing the
Monica ma'am, I think we have lost the connectivity. No?
Yes, sir. There is some connectivity issue.
Yeah.
Sir, can you call her?
Okay. Okay, ma'am.
Sir, the speaker has joined. Ma'am, you are on mute.
Okay. I think now, am I audible?
Yes,
Yes,
you are
ma'am.
audible.
Okay, great. So basically, I was talking about the expert in this matter. So both the parties have collectively decided to hire one expert, and his opinion, of course, will be dependent on the parties whether they want to take it forward. It's not binding. And similarly, you could have an expert, be it for counseling of a child, in child custody matters and all. You understand that there is so much of trauma, so you could have a counselor on board, or probably related to the medical field, where of course either you're a lawyer or you're from any other profession, like any assistance from an expert in your matter at times really helps, even for property evaluation. So you need to structure it accordingly. At times, just keep in, when you are sitting on the table, that you have to be alert and careful that this is not used as a delay tactic. So this is something I would really wish our students to know, that this is a mediation has its own place under the sun. And if you plan and if you persecute and you're able to persevere, I mean, you will benefit and you will reap from this platform, provided you're consistent. And I'm sure, like every field, you have to put equal amount of hard work and dedication and devotion and patience. So the line is long. And I would like to thank my audience, and I'm grateful to all of you for your valuable time. But I close by stating a quote by Buddha, which says that better than thousand hollow words is the one word that brings peace. So, in my books, nothing could define mediation better. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for enlightening us with this session. And ma'am, if you would give us permission, that there are some participants who have some questions. So shall we take the questions, ma'am?
Yeah, most certainly. Am I audible? I don't even know if I'm audible, because at times the
Ma'am, you are audible but not visible.
I'm not visible. Oh, okay. Am I visible now?
Yes, ma'am, you're perfectly visible. So the first question is asked by our participant named Ms. Asra Fatima. She asked that what are the steps which a mediator has to follow or have to follow when playing a role of mediator?
Okay. So that's a good question. And see, the steps you need to follow as a good mediator is, to begin with, you need to have a very good opening statement. Because when you are, sitting with your parties, as I mentioned, they are new to you and they don't know. So that is where the trust building, rapport building happens. Your opening statement has to be very good. It has to comfort the parties. And then we begin with joint sessions. And the parties, of course, mention about their case facts, and they have the lawyers who might just pitch in with the legal side. And if the joint sessions with them basically go fine, you continue, because there is no hard and fast rule that you have to sit in a joint session or you have to go into a single session. It is all case dependent. See, no one size fits all. So when you are in a joint session at parties, sometimes parties are so looking forward to an amicable resolution that they may not seek a single session. So if they don't, then you continue in the joint session. But as a neutral, your impartiality should not be compromised, because if it is compromised, that will put the entire environment at risk. So being a self-determination process, you may choose to continue, you may choose not to continue. Then when you have finished with your joint sessions and you've sought single sessions, and you get into the confidentiality, because see, the entire process, as I mentioned, is all about confidentiality. And you might share in a joint session, then you may want to talk to the mediator separately, then you step out wherever they have the breakout room, of course, now since we are all online, and he will divulge information to you. When he divulges the information to you, he will talk about, you need to pick up the agenda. Of course, the agenda issues come in the joint session when you collectively sit together. Then you need to know what exactly he's trying to say. You will always keep it in mind that you will take out the toxicity of the conversation when you are narrating it to the other side. You have to reframe, you have to rephrase whatever is being divulged to you. You have to seek the permission of the party, whether they would like certain aspect of the conversation to go into the other room in front of the other party or not. Thereafter, you will sit and think about options. Now, when I talk about options, see, at times what happens is whatever is on the table might be the best for you. But at times you may feel that what is not on the table, but outside the room of the mediation, you will think on those lines. So whatever works for you, consider that. So if there is a better alternative for you outside the room, outside the mediation, then I think you would like to look at that. But if not, then you would like to consider the options of whatever is being offered. Nobody can push you into mediation and nobody can push you into a settlement, because it's ultimately all about you, end of the day. And once you have the options and your agenda, whatever the issues that have been addressed, whatever works out, then you put it on pen paper. Then you have, of course, your settlements, which have to be again legal wise, and they have to be something which are efficient, where you are not just making a settlement for the sake of it, but it has to be done very appropriately. And in fact, in courts, we seek the help of lawyers who are representing their parties. So that is how the whole thing shapes up, because you need to initially begin with gather all the information, and that's also an important part of it. And as a mediator, you need to remember that you have to be neutral at all times. You have to be confidential, keeping the confidentiality all the time. You cannot push the parties. You also have to make it completely party centric. They have to make decisions which are informed. That is something they need to know right from day one. Hello.
Hello, Monica. Any other question?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. There are questions. Am I audible?
Yes.
So the next question is by Miss Dimple Jishu. She asked that how a mediation center can be established. Can an individual or NGO establish mediation center?
Yes, of course, it is possible. In fact, of late, a lot of them have been, and there is this DDRS in Delhi, which is also established, and couple of them privately have also come up. So that is possible, yes, and that's where actually pre-litigation or private mediations are happening.
So ma'am, there would be some registration relating to it, that now this organization has become
Yeah.
the mediation
Yeah,
center.
there's a way, there's a procedure to register, and you could do it under the Societies Registration Act and all. I mean, whoever's inclined to it will have to definitely get it registered. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. The next question is asked by Apeksha Gupta. She asked that how to become a qualified ODR neutral, that is online dispute resolution neutral.
See, there are a lot of training programs being offered. And as I mentioned to the students that, once you take training in either any form, like, see, basically when we talk about mediation as such, any form of training which you take, you get certification. And when you have qualified, because mainly it's 40 hours of training. But just to have it on your CV is one thing, but if you actually want to get into it, you will have to be patient. So once you have qualified and taken the certificate, that is the procedure which is prevalent as of now. I mean, you can definitely become a qualified certified mediator by undertaking mediation training programs.
Okay, so ma'am, other question asked by many of the participants, that can you please recommend any international organization or national organization providing the training program for the mediators or for the students also, for the law students, the mediation camps or mediation programs to train them?
Yes, you will find internationally, as I said, I mean, IMI, SIMI, they're like in Singapore, then you have in London, but they all have criterias. So you need to check exactly, because nowadays mediation is just not being limited to lawyers. From many fields, people are getting into, taking, because see, it's ultimately a life skill. So there are several organizations internationally, in India as well. You have, I mean, the court annexed, of course, is one thing, but privately, a lot of organizations are offering training programs, undoubtedly. So yes, both in when we talk about India, we talk about abroad, there are several. And they might have criteria which may vary. So it's always good to check what exactly are you looking, for. And I mean, this is something which, as I mentioned earlier also, that the earlier you learn these life skills, I think it's always going to stand you in good stead later. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, it's my question only. As you said that there is IMI, SIMI, London, but are they providing the online courses for the students?
Very much. Due to the pandemic, most of them have gone online. Even in India, I would say you must check, because a lot of institutes are offering now, because nobody wants to risk it. The travel, I mean, of course, things have improved to a large
Right,
extent,
ma'am.
but still you might have elders at home. You might be reconsidering travel. So they are definitely offering online. And if you students are interested, it will really be helpful, because, sitting in the comfort of your house or your college, I mean, your hostel, you could be able to do it.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. And there are some more questions, if you don't mind. So can I take the questions?
Yeah, please, please.
Okay, ma'am. There is another question, that what is the difference between certification and affiliation of a mediator?
See, in certification, basically, when you have done your training, you get a certificate, right? Now, when it comes to accreditation, that is assessment. You have to qualify through an exam. So there are certain standards and parameters you have to clear before getting this. So that is what gives, this profession, I would say, it sets standards. It gives it much more professionalism. You're not going to somebody who's not qualified. So they have to pass some levels of exam, and that's how you kind of get accredited as a mediator.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, there is one more question, last second question, I think. There's a question that I have completed from a reputed university, the course on ADR, PG diploma course on ADR. So, what kind of employment opportunities I have with its diploma? Please inform me, ma'am.
First, I'd like to wish you good luck, because it's a happy situation to be in, that you have qualified and you've taken this diploma. You will have to consider applying to probably, law firms, or you'll have to look at job opportunities which are in sync with your qualification. So, like when you ask me what about job opportunities, I mean, that is something, you will have to figure out if there is a vacancy in any law firm, in any legal department, so you will have to think on those lines. Coming out of the law college, probably you could pursue it further ahead, to take up teaching. I mean, careers are galore. It's just that if you have one specific, I would say, area in your mind, then you should start searching for jobs accordingly. And I think now with the ADR really picking up, I'm really hopeful that you will get one soon.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, last question. Last question asked by Professor Rahul. He asked that I have spent years learning the law and craft of representing clients. Uh, yes, I have seen gross unfairness as a result of untrained and inexperienced mediators, many of whom probably have never read a reported decision. Why should I ever refer to another case to mediation? Could I be sued for giving a negligent reference?
Well, this is a strictly confidential process. I'm coming back to again, the mediators will never be in the limelight. They will never be telling you whatever happens in that room, and nobody can actually go against, because when the day one you decide to get into mediation, please be clear. It is something which both of you, the parties and the mediator, need to know that it is something which remains there.
Thank you, ma'am.
The long and short of it is, yeah, it's not possible, because even the courts, when the mediation files go back, you just write a line, either it's settled, not settled, or it's a non-starter. You cannot write beyond. See, this is the beauty. If you have a reputation and that reputation needs to be preserved, this is the place. For the big companies, be it any big personality, mediation gives you that complete safeguard, I'd say. Protects you completely. What stays there remains there. It's a huge plus, this clause of confidentiality. It's a part of the training also. I mean, because they're all like ingrained in mediation.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. One participant is repeatedly asking a question, so I cannot skip the question. There is a question that could you please tell me a brief about the Singapore Convention on Mediation?
Could you please?
Brief me about the Singapore Convention on Mediation.
Okay. Well, the Singapore Convention on Mediation is largely, as I mentioned, about cross-border disputes. So when we talk about cross-border disputes, India has signed, like the 53 countries, we are part of the signatories. But to ratify, we are looking forward for a law to come in. It broadly, largely talks about cross-border disputes related to commercial matters. So once the commercial matters, see, it is going to give you an enforcement. Any dispute under this will give you the enforceability, which will be the order of the court. So you don't need to run around like, earlier times there was nothing which was backing it up. But this convention gives a backing to the countries who have signed and ratified it. So it's basically about the community, which is, as I mentioned, we are, of course, one of the largest economies, and there will be commercial aspects and litigation and disputes happening. So this gives you immediate effect is that the enforceability will get you the court order.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for taking up all the questions and answering them patiently. We are so grateful that you have taken this session for us and insight of the session. Now I would like to request our academic coordinator, Mrs. Monica Kharola, ma'am, to give a vote of thanks to you.
Thank you, Monica. Ma'am, it's been wonderful listening to you, and from a trained mediator who has a long career in mediation, and your empathy for people, and of course the Buddhist philosophy that you are reflected in your talk has shown how mediation is important and how it will effectively be used for benefiting the people. Because while resolving a case, it is going to go into what is the needs of the parties, and based upon that, the resolution will be, that is the best solution that can be provided to litigants, and it will help them to not have a conflict among themselves even after they go through the mediation process. So you have excellently put in these words where you show that how mediation has an upper hand in the ODR process, and how students can take up mediation as a career, and truly said that litigation is today very tedious and a very long drawn process, and mediation gives a very easy remedy, especially with India becoming so globally integrating its economy with other economies. We need fast track processes to help our businesses do better. So I am sure that the participants have learned a lot, and they are very keen in becoming mediators themselves. So you have given us a very good role model to all the participants, that they can target, focus, get these certifications, improve on their mediation, get better accredited, and then make a good career for themselves. So it's been a very enriching session, and we thank you on behalf of ICFI University, Dehradun. It's been wonderful to hear you, and we thank you for sparing your time and being with us. I thank the committee, the ADR center, which has put this and has been helpful in coordinating it. Divakar Das, our placement manager, and Monica Kotial. And we are thankful to the Dean sir for motivating us to take up this session. Thank you, ma'am, for being here and being such a good role model for good mediation. Thank you very much. Over to you, Monica.
Your voice is not audible, Monica. Your voice is not audible to me.
Sir, now am I audible?
You are audible now.
Sir, now I would like to call upon our Dean, sir.
Okay.
A few words.
So, madam, I'm very much grateful to you. I heard your very, very brilliant, enlightening and informative session. And it was very, very informative, and it was very interesting for the students. And in fact, it has literally guided my student to go ahead with. So that way, normally persons, they do not do it in that way, that fashion. So we are very much happy. We are very much grateful to you that you have given such a wonderful session to my students. And of course, many academicians are also there, professionals are also there. I'm finding in the list. So I'm very much thankful to them that they have come here and also have taken care to listen. So with this, madam, in future, we will be very happy if sometimes you can spare your valuable time and be here with us in the university to train our students or to just enlighten our students. Dehradun is a good place for that way. So I invite you in future, and I'm very much grateful to you and happy that you are here, madam. With this, I thank you very much. With folded hand.
Pleasure was completely mine, and I would really like to thank each and every one of you and the students for taking out such valuable time and listening to whatever little I had to offer. Thank you so much.
Thank you, madam. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. With the permission of Dean, sir.
Please close it. Please close it. Please
Can we close the
close
meeting?
it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Sir, you can close the meeting now.
Please close.
The participants are requested to fill their feedback form. We'll close the meeting within 30 seconds.
Okay. Then please let us wait.
Yes, sir.
So I'm leaving. You continue with that, sir.